Hi, it's Dustin Lanier. Thanks for listening. Please find me on LinkedIn for original public sector operations content every week. And please reach out to me if I and my team of procurement professionals at Civic Initiatives can help you be a public procurement change agent.
It's nice to talk with you, so thank you very much for your time today. My name is Leah McGrath, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director for StateRamp, which is a newly formed nonprofit organization that started, it was formed by a steering committee who met in 2020 and launched in January. But it was formed by a steering committee of individuals who, if you go to stateramp.org/leadership, you can see the caliber of individuals who have been involved in this discussion. And you'll see represented about a dozen current and former state procurement, privacy, security officials, joined by industry leaders and cyber assessing officials and organizations who came together around this idea for how can we create a common method for cloud verification that can serve as a shared service model for states and local governments in closing that gap and providing them an effective and an efficient way to manage third-party risk and cybersecurity, but also to serve as a verify one, serve many model for the cloud service providers who are doing business with states and local governments and providing really important services that allow for digital government and modernization. And so it was really formed to help close that gap that sometimes does exist between information security and procurement. So if you've got the security officials who are recognizing the need to verify cloud security and passing or adopting policies that require often their vendors to comply with their cyber policy, but then this gap that has existed for procurement who have to figure out, well, how do you verify that? So StateRamp helps really bridge and bring states and local governments together to verify and recognize a common set of standards for cloud security.
So compare and contrast that with the federal program that people may have, FedRamp is a term that maybe has penetrated people's understanding, sure, but maybe StateRamp is newer. So compare and contrast the efforts.
Absolutely. So in the federal government, it is required for the vendors who serve federal government, who are cloud service providers, must be FedRamp authorized. So FedRamp is a government agency that was created by the federal government who verifies cloud security, and they really rely on third-party assessments and audits. And then FedRamp serves as that verification body for the federal agencies. There are a couple of differences and there are a couple of similarities. So some of the similarities that you'll see, both StateRamp cloud security verifications and FedRamp are based on NIST. That's the National Institute for Standards and Technology. It's a widely recognized set of standards for cloud security and best practices. So both FedRamp and StateRamp are based on NIST. Both rely on third-party assessments and audits to verify that the providers do comply with those NIST requirements. The difference between FedRamp and StateRamp is a few differences. One, FedRamp, to be FedRamp authorized, a service provider must maintain a minimum contract with a federal agency. So you have worked in state government and know that there are a number of providers who serve state and local government who do not do business in the federal government, right? Also, there are a number of providers who have offerings that they may provide to the federal government that they don't provide to state and local government and vice versa. So FedRamp and StateRamp both verify products or offerings, not companies, if that makes sense. So companies may have multiple products. So the big difference between FedRamp and StateRamp is who's eligible to be verified. In FedRamp, you've got to do business in the federal government. In StateRamp, there is not that requirement. The other difference that you will see when you get into some of the process for verifying cloud security is FedRamp has a program management office, but the agencies who have contracts with the providers are the ones who typically, in most cases, assume responsibility for verifying the audit or the assessment, and then responsibility for that continuous monitoring. In StateRamp manages a program management office so that that PMO it's centralized. The function of verifying the cloud security package that's provided, and then the function of continuous monitoring is centralized through the PMO. And what that does is it gives you consistency in terms of how those application of standards are applied, but also then allows for that verify once, serve many model, because states and local governments can work through that PMO, and or through StateRamp, we have an authorized vendor list we'll publish to get information, and so that they can make risk-based decisions that are right for them. But as a provider, there's confidence in that consistency through the centralized PMO as well.
So I'll give you two more questions in our little impromptu interview here, right? So in terms of trying to balance the state and locals' desire for ultimate security, which may in some cases not even be possible in the current environment, with vendors who want to who may have competing concepts of standards for themselves. I imagine there's a lot of nurturing and cat herding in your job. So how do you reconcile all of these various interests?
Well, I like to say that StateRamp is modeled in part after FedRamp in terms of it being based on NIST and also relying on those third-party audits. But it's really designed to work for state and local government. And our mission, StateRamp is a nonprofit, so our mission is really education of best practices with all of the stakeholders, with states and local governments, as well as the providers who serve the state and local governments. And so our goal, at the heart of it, is to really shift this culture around cloud security and cybersecurity to be one of continuous improvement, continuous monitoring. So what you'll see there are different statuses for security that recognize the progression that a provider is making through that path toward authorization. And that's because we know that you can't just flip a switch and suddenly everyone's complying or at full authorization level. It's going to take time. So that's part of it. Our other, as a nonprofit, like I said, our mission is really education. So we want providers successful in this process. To that end, over time, what you'll see develop are more educational resources and training and sample policies and procedures to help improve the cyber postures and help provide the providers a path to successful. The last thing I would say on that is all procurement decisions stay with the state and local governments, as they should. What StateRamp has the ability to do is make visible the cyber posture of the providers so that states and local governments can make risk-based decisions that are right for them.
Which leads me to my last question, which is what, for somebody who this is new to them and maybe they haven't been exposed to the group before or, whatever, what's the most practical way that a procurement officer in maybe a state or a local entity that hasn't been involved or seen the standards, like what's the most practical way they can take advantage of the work you guys have been?
Absolutely. Well, if this is a new concept to anyone, it's because it's a new concept. So we just launched in January of 2021. So our first quarter of existence has really been primarily focused on spreading the word and making connections with individuals. And we'll continue doing that. So we will be opening up membership in April. And I would say the best place to go is to the website at stateramp.org. If you go to stateramp.org/event, you will see we have regularly scheduled webinars, and we'll be scheduling another series here shortly. That's an introduction and an overview to StateRamp, so that whether you're a provider or an assessor or a state or local government official, you can go there to get information and ask questions. If you also go, I would point you to the stateramp.org/documents page. That's where you can see policies, the security assessment framework that walks through the procedures and kind of how we're governed. Find good information there as well. And then lastly, if you have questions, email info@stateramp.org. And we will absolutely, or if you're on the website, there's a place that you can fill out a form to receive more information. And we'd absolutely be happy to hop on a call and walk kind of where we are in the process, how we can help and work together to improve cybersecurity and cloud security for all the stakeholders.
Hi, it's Dustin Lanier. Thanks for listening. Please find me on LinkedIn for original public sector operations content every week. And And please reach out to me if I and my team of procurement professionals at Civic Initiatives can help you be a public procurement change agent.